Excuse me, everyone. If everyone could take their seats, we're going to get started here. If everyone could take their seats, please. I just want to check with the sound. Can you hear in the back of the room? Is everything's good? Okay. Okay, ready? Recording, we're good? Karen, are you ready? Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting for Tuesday, April 15th. It's currently 6 o'clock. Before we get started, the Village of Anmore would like to open our meeting by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations, with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver. There'd be the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we'd like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many tutorial keepers of these lands and waters around us in time immemorial. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Approval of the agenda. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Before I move on to public input, I just wanted to say we've received several emails, both in support and against the application. Some are in a form letter that includes some incorrect information. There's also been some comments and questions posted online and submitted by our email to the village. I'd like to take a moment to have the village's professional consultants provide an update to ensure our community has accurate information. I'd first like to ask Mr. Tim Savoy, our senior planner consultant for this project, to address some of the questions and comments that have been raised about the review of this application. Tim is a registered professional planner with 30 years experience in various senior municipal management roles throughout British Columbia's Lower Mainland and New Brunswick. He has an extensive background in municipal land use planning and has led several planning initiatives focused on creating complete communities with transit orientation. I will then, following him, I'd like to ask, there's also been some questions and comments about the engagement for this review process. I'd like to ask Ms. Mickelson from Mickelson Consulting Incorporated, who is leading the community engagement process for the village, to provide some updates on this as well. I'd like to note that Ms. Mickelson's consulting team is supporting the engagement are adhering to International Association of Public Participating Standards. Mr. Savoy.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. So I'm just responding to some of the comments raised online, and hopefully I hit most of the ones that people are interested in. So the village is being asked why council is actually considering this application at this time. And I guess the bottom line with that is municipal councils are required to actually consider applications submitted by landowners. It's actually one of the regulations in the Local Government Act. So cities have to process applications in accordance with their regulations. So essentially that answers that.
Mr.
Also, yes?
Bring the mic.
Oh, sorry, not loud enough? People hear me? Sorry about that. Okay. So the village is also being asked why council is not telling the property owner exactly what they must do in terms of rezoning. Like one of the specific question or comment raised was, why aren't they being told to rezone their property to a CD zone? Well, a CD zone, and I'll talk about this a little later, is a comprehensive development zone. Typically, CD zones are customized zoning based on a specific proposal, and they're essentially custom zoning because it doesn't fit anywhere else in the zoning bylaw. So there are a number of issues with the statement as why council wouldn't actually make them to a CD zone at this point. The main one is that we're not at the zoning stage at this time. We're amending the official community plan. So if this application proceeds, then the applicant will apply for a zoning, and then I can tell you likely they will need to do a comprehensive development zone, which will be customized and crafted based on the OCP amendment that's being worked on and that eventually gets approved. And lastly, in terms of process, a council typically wouldn't ever impose a zone on a property owner that made an application for something different. So when it comes to Anmore South, the property owner, Icona, has essentially the same rights as a normal, regular, everyday property owner in the city. You all have the right to make an application to change your to change your property, and they're no different. So at the moment, ICON has submitted 2 applications to the village. One is a subdivision application based on the existing zoning. So in the zoning bylaw, the property zoned RS-1. And this would allow a permitted use of 1 lot essentially per acre, single-family lots, much like what's happened in the past. They'd be on septic. There'd be no amenities. The subdivision process is another whole story. So subdivision itself is a very regulated, statutory, sort of almost, it's a very straightforward process. If an owner applies with a zoning bylaw in terms of your zoning regulations, if you meet all the servicing requirements, essentially the approving officer, in this case, Mr. Boyd, would be required to approve it. It doesn't even go to council. So the other application that we're currently working on, in fact, it's not on the agenda tonight, so in case you came to talk about it, the OCP amendment application is not on tonight's agenda. But that we are working on processing an amendment to the official community plan, and that's with respect to the neighborhood plan that's been on the city's website that Therese will talk about in a little while, which involves a broad mix of housing, including some single family, some duplexes, some townhouses, and apartments in 6-story format. So there would also be some opportunity for market and non-market rentals, and some opportunity for rentals for the firefighters. And this would be serviced by sewer and water if it was approved at some point. There'd also be amenities like a recreation center, commercial businesses, additional parks, dedicated parks, and green space. Certainly more than under a normal subdivision, because normal subdivision applications only require that 5% of a property be dedicated as park above a certain, in this case, it would be 5%. So the decision related to the OCP amendment application will eventually, if it progresses through that process, council will make that decision. They have 100% jurisdiction to make that decision. And these are based on a number of things. Councils, of course, listen to the community engagement that's provided. There's been a long, extensive number of opportunities for engagement that Ms. Mickelson will talk about very shortly. But also, they have to look at things like the strategic plan, regional and provincial requirements, and councils typically look to the future. They look beyond their personal views of a specific item, and they look to the future 20, 30, and 40 years out. So there's a number of things that councils consider when making decisions. They'll also listen, of course, if there's a public hearing, people will make representations, and then council takes that entire amount of information, which is a lot, over a period of a long time. In this case, there's been a lot of work undertaken that typically is not normally necessary for an OCP amendment. There's been a lot of engagement above and beyond typically what would be statutory required. And they take all that information, and then they make a decision. So the village is currently following a process for council to consider the OCP amendment. There was terms of reference approved, and that's available. I provided a report to council at the last regular meeting on April 1st that actually highlights all the necessary steps sort of to get to the end of the process, if that's what's desired. So I welcome you to have a look at that. So just in short, the village has been taking a fair amount of time to go through this process to review and consider the application. If you look at what's typically required by the Local Government Act, really there's been a lot of steps and a lot of opportunity for the community to provide comment, and that's welcomed. In fact, Therese will talk about sort of the next step in terms of opportunities coming up in the very near future. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll hand it over to Therese.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of the things we want to do is make sure that we're addressing some of the questions, but also information out in the community. It is very important for everyone to have correct information through this. So first, apparently there have been a mix of dates that have been posted about things happening, including posts about a date for a public hearing. Nothing has been scheduled. The only scheduled dates that we have right now in this phase 3 are related to community engagement. So we have a finance committee taking place tonight. There's an advisory committee workshop, and there's an open house on April 24th. I do want to note it's April 24th because it's also been out there as it's April 25th. That's not correct. So please make sure that you're checking village sources for your information so that you don't show up with nothing's going on, okay? I also noticed that there was a post saying that tonight's council meeting was the last chance to share input with council. I'm not sure why that was put up. We haven't even started phase 3 engagement. Tonight, actually, it really kicks off with this first Finance Committee meeting. And the reason why it's kicking off now is because we've been waiting for the technical reports to be complete. That did take a bit longer than anticipated because we wanted to make sure that there was due diligence for the review. But I've also seen information posted that the transportation investment or transportation impact assessment was due last June. That's just not correct. We've said all along that that report would be done in phase 3 when we had a preferred land use plan, and we just posted that study. So again, like, there is a lot of information circulating out there, and it's coming in letters that people are signing, and it's just not accurate. So please make sure that you're getting your information correctly. I do want to emphasize that we've been hearing there hasn't been any engagement at all on this process, and others have said that we're not meeting the requirements. So just so everybody understands, the only legislative requirements for this type of OCP amendment are the referral process under Section 475. That's what we've talked about at the last, I think that was all the way back in February 4th, and that's where we sent letters out. That's been done, as well as that includes First Nations. There's also a Section 476, which involves a letter that we've sent to the school district. That's been done. And there's a public hearing. Those are the only regulatory requirements. However, at the start of this process, Michelson Consulting put in recommendations for community engagement that are far more comprehensive than the regulatory requirements. And Council endorsed that framework, and that's what we've been implementing since then. So for those who've been saying that we haven't engaged the community, I am not going to run through all of it because it is a very long list. But to give you a general sense, in phase 1, we launched the Have Your Say Anmore engagement framework website. So far, we've had 2,300 views of that page. So there's been a lot of activity on that engagement page. And we've also received questions posted. People have filled in feedback forms. In phase 1, we sent 2 separate flyers directly to people's homes. We've posted 2 different sets of posters at the Village Hall. We used the community outdoor signs. We sent 8 different notifications through the email notification system. And we also posted 8 separate times on the Facebook page. For the engagement, we had 2 open houses. We actually had 150 participants at the first open house and 37 who came to the second open house. We held 4 workshops, and those workshops were specifically designed to provide an opportunity for the community to have a more in-depth discussion on the preferred plan, but also we set up a completely separate space in the boardroom where all we did was ask people to provide their input, share their thoughts, and discuss the vision itself around what do you think of this proposal. And that information was then used to put together the preferred land use plan. Phase 2 was mostly informed, but we also did that by posts on the internet, email notifications. We had boards that were up in the Anmore Community Hub for months so that people could see what some of these outcomes were from phase 2. And now in phase 3, we're heading into holding a technical open house on April 24th from 5 to 8 p.m. right here. It's been incorrectly reported that this is going to be a developer-led open house. That is not the case. All of this engagement is being hosted and led by the village. And so we will have our village team to take notes. We have a village engagement team that'll be taking notes as we've done in the past. We're meeting with the advisory committee meetings in a couple of different meetings to hear from advisory committee members. We're also going to be having a community survey, an online community survey that's being managed by a professional research firm. And then we're also communicating about this in multiple ways in this phase. We'll, of course, continue. We've been posting information online. We'll continue to do that on both the Have Your Say Anmore page and on anmore.com. We also have information being posted on the village's Facebook page to help make people aware of this. We're sending out information via the email notifications, and if you're not signed up for those, it's a really great way to get updates about everything in the village, not just Anmore South. And we're posting signs in the community, even more than we've done in the past. And of course, we're going to be mailing a detailed information flyer to every home. So we provide information in multiple ways to the community because people like to get information different ways and they process information. But I do ask you to please take the time to be informed. That means information, review the information yourself Don't rely on others to tell you what's happened because they may not be using accurate information. And do please share your input. Please come to the open house. Please fill in the community survey. And then I just do want to say, as we head into this next phase of engagement, and as we hear from the community, I am again asking everyone to be respectful. It's okay to have different opinions, but please respect the fact that there are some residents who may not agree with you, and they may not feel the way you do, but allow them their voice and in this process, and please do not argue with them or pressure them to justify their position. I have seen that happen. It is not fair in either direction, okay? Whatever the position. It's equally important to be respectful to the subject matter experts who are going to be at the open house, who are going to be sharing what they did in their studies, and also to the applicant team and the village engagement team who will be present. This includes respectful language. I can't believe I have to say this, but please do not swear at the young people taking notes at the open house. Please do not flick their clipboards in their face. And yes, that happened at the last one. So I'm asking you to please remember these are people working hard to hear from you. Please be respectful. They are going to be taking notes of your feedback and your questions. So, and then following this engagement period, if the OCP bylaw amendment receives second reading, village staff will seek direction from council regarding the scheduling of a public hearing. Nothing else has been scheduled at this time. We're really focused right now on phase 3, and we hope that you'll all participate. That's it.
Good. Thank you both for that clarity. We'll now move on into the agenda. Again, it's a pretty short agenda regarding the approval of the tax rate and then the development variance permit. So is there any public input on those items? If you could please come up, state your name, and provide your comments.
Nancy Maloney, can you hear me? 1724 East Road. And I wanted to point out that there's an error, which is, I think, somewhat important, in the April 1st, 2025 minutes. And I'm surprised that this exists and was not noticed. But it's item 11B, the Anmore South Amendment, item R06625. So I'll give you a minute to find it.
R065-25?
No, R066/25.
Okay.
R066/25.
Okay.
Okay, found it?
Yep.
Okay, so the minutes say that the vote by council was unanimous, but actually Councillor Cryer, I was here for that meeting, voted against having a survey. So Councillor Cryer voted in opposition.
I don't believe so. Anyway, thank you.
If you watch the recording, I did to verify what I remember from the meeting, and definitely Councillor Cryer voted against having a community survey. And the other thing, I do minutes for numerous other organizations, and our minutes are very sparse, except for the versions that appear in the Anmore Times. And our minutes are sort of like totally lacking in detail when it's, except for the recordings, the only documentation of these meetings. And so it is important that they be correct. And while Councillor Richardson voted in favor of that motion to have a survey, Councillor Richardson had many concerns about the content of the survey that was mandated.
Yeah, I'm going to just point of order, Ms. Maloney. We just want to stick to the minutes that are here and not put anything into these minutes, please. We'll look into what's on 06625, and I guess the clerk will run the tape back and check in that. Do you have any other comments?
That's all for now, but
Thank
I
you.
would like to see more detail, especially the important information
Thank
that
you.
Councillor Richardson had contributed to that meeting about what should be in the survey. Thank you.
Order. Dog in here. Okay, see no further. Adoption of the minutes. Move on to 5A, minutes of the regular council. Oh,
May I speak? I just want to raise a point. I record minutes of, well, sorry, I actually have a recording of the committee of the whole meeting for October 29th. And Councillor Richardson said at that meeting, and this is actually stated in the Anmore Times, he said
I just have to ask, is this anything to do with what's on the agenda?
I want to rise on a point of order.
The point of order is what?
Yes.
What is your point of order?
Therese Mickelson is in,
Sorry.
with all respect, Therese Mickelson is in error about the June.
That's not to do with this thing, with the...
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any further? Okay, we'll move on to delegations. We don't have any. 5A minutes of the regular council meeting held on April 1st, 2025. Recommendation. Someone approve the recommendation? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion on those minutes? See none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from those minutes? No? We'll now move on to 9A, legislative reports. Report dated April 11th, 2025 from our Manager of Financial Services attached. Ms. Martin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At our previous meeting, we had a budget info. Oh, can you hear me a little better there? Sorry, I thought I was a loud person. At our last meeting, we went over a budget info session, and Council asked questions, and then we had some questions back from residents, and we were asked to bring forward the 5-year financial plan bylaw and tax rate bylaw for the year.
Could you read the recommendation?
So the recommendation was that the Anmore 5-year financial plan bylaw 714-2025 be given first, second, and third readings, and that 2025 Anmore tax rates bylaw number 715-2025 be given first, second, and third readings.
Can I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Open up for discussion. Any discussion? I'll say a few things. This is a pretty good story for the village. This brings our tax rate in at 6.81%. And of that, 1.4% is for the loan that the residents asked for the hub, on the hub. So that would have reduced it down to about 5.4. And then we have another 1%, which is that we instituted this year animal control. I can tell you right now, we just had a report last week from Mr. John Wagner, who looked at all our assets in the village. Our infrastructure is fully funded for replacement, and that even includes this building that we're in right now. So we're in a very, I would say, probably one of the best financial positions of any municipality in the province. Our total reserves, capital and grant, are about $11.5 million. We have DC reserves of about $2.2 million, and we work on an operating budget of about $4.3 million. So we're watching the money that we spend here. But we're in a very, very strong, and this has taken many, many years to get here, but it's by watching every development that comes forward, watching every expense that comes forward as well, and making sure that we're getting the best use for the taxpayers' money that comes forward. So on that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now move on to 9B, 2519 East Road Development Variance Permit, DVP 2025-02. Memo to Council, report dated March 28th from our planner. Mr. Joseph.
Excuse me, Mayor McEwen.
Yeah.
I'll recuse myself.
Oh, okay.
It is a neighbor of mine, and we are also considering infill.
Okay.
Can I use your, please?
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor Ewan. So at the April 1st regular council meeting, staff were directed to issue notice of council's consideration of DVP 2025-02 to reduce the interior parcel line setback from 3 meters to 2.36 meters to allow for an existing single-family dwelling unit to remain for the purposes of an infill subdivision. The staff report dated March 28, 2025 by the village planner is attached for reference. Notice to affected properties have been sent out, and at the time of writing this memo, no comments have been received. The recommendation on the table is that council issue development variance permit DVP 2025-02 to vary section 9.20.5 of the Anmore zoning bylaw number 568/2017 to decrease the interior side yard setback from 3 meters to 2.36 meters to accommodate an existing single-family dwelling at 2519 East Road. Thank you.
Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Just wait a minute while we ask Councillor Cryer. Oh, sure. Easter's this Saturday, right? Yeah. At what time? What time is the Easter egg hunt? Do you know what Easter egg? Noon? Okay, moving right along. We don't have any, the mayor's report. Just a couple things. Previous to this in-camera meeting, we've two appointments to the Anmore Finance Committee appointments were David Gregory and Celia Chang were reinstated back onto the Finance Department, which is going to be meeting at 7 o'clock here. And then I also wanted to remind everyone that noon on Saturday is the Easter egg hunt. Move over to councillors' reports. Councillor Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor McCune. I just have a brief report. Today was our first dementia workshop. It's one of 3. It was a small bunch, and we did realize that maybe the daytime hours are a little tricky for folks. So we've already started a conversation about perhaps doing it again in the evening, but it was very well received. We saw a majority, I think all, caregivers that were in attendance. And I've touched base with a few of them, and they felt that they were given new tools and very pleased that they came. So do come next Tuesday and the following Tuesday at 1:30. There's information on the signboards and also on the website and social media, how to register. Thanks.
The other? Councillor Webering.
Just looking forward to the Easter egg hunt on Saturday and encouraging everybody, even if you don't have kids, to come out. It's a really good community event.
Anything else? Okay. Chief Administrative Officer's report. Ms. Elright.
Thank you. Just a reminder to everybody that utility notices have been sent out, and that would be the spring notices for water and garbage collection, and the bill is due on May 7th. So please check your mail and contact the village if you have not received that yet. And also, in addition to the Finance Committee, we will be looking to do committee recruitment for our other committees. So watch for that coming out in the next week or so. An opportunity for those of you who would like to volunteer with our committees. Thank you.
Good. We do have a public question period. Public question here. We're going to wrap up at about 6:45 so that we can rearrange the room for the Finance Committee. But if anybody has any questions, please come on up.
My questions are general, but they're meant.
Name and address first.
Dr. Jurga Dirkten, 1815A East Road, Anmore, BC. My questions are general, but they're meant in the spirit of educating myself and the audience. I was wondering if you could explain who is responsible for taking down the council minutes and then writing them up.
That is the corporate officer, Ms. Guzakara.
Thank you. Who has the final say on the minutes or approves them before they're attached to the next meeting's agenda?
I would imagine council has to
No,
approve
before
them.
they're attached to the agenda.
They are not circulated outside of staff before the agenda is posted.
Does no one have final approval authority before they actually go to the agenda?
As indicated before, the corporate officer is responsible for the minutes, and she posts them onto the agenda.
Thank you. Are there ever discrepancies other than the one that was indicated earlier today in the minutes or disputes over them?
we're not affirmed that those are in dispute, those minutes anyway. So, but yeah, there has been times where they've come up and things have, there's been spelling mistakes in that.
Okay. And what is the process by which the minutes are corrected?
It's pointed out to the corporate secretary.
They would be corrected or amended before adoption. Once they're adopted, they are final.
Does the person who writes up the minute go back to the YouTube recording to verify the notes?
Yes, I do. I watch the recordings as necessary. If there's any confusion on my part, I go back to the recordings and watch them to make sure that the accuracy is maintained.
Thank you.
Yeah.
2 questions.
Name and-
Nancy Maloney, 1724 East Road. Can you hear? Okay. Okay, so Mr. Tim Savoy's appearance at the April 1st meeting, which I attended, was a surprise to residents, including myself. At that meeting, he was not introduced, nor was it explained the circumstances of his hiring, including the cost involved. So that was never discussed at a council meeting. So could you explain the circumstances of Mr. Savoy's hiring and what is the cost and why was this done?
So Mr. Savoy is a consultant. His services related to Anmore South are paid for, as are all of the other consulting services by the developer. So he's not hired as an employee. He is a consultant, as are many other consultants that are working on this project, such as Ms. Michelson. Mr. Boyd is a consultant of the village. So that is not something that comes through council.
Is his independence somewhat compromised by the fact that his payment is from Icona, not from the village?
No, it is not.
Please. Do you want to say?
I'm happily able to speak to that. So I've been in local government for the last over 30 years. I've recently retired as city manager for the city of Port Moody. And one of my, I guess, parameters in terms of this consulting agency is I'm working for municipalities only. I've worked for multiple municipalities. I'm a member of the Canadian Institute of Planners, and I report to Ms. Elric. I don't report to the developer, and I know if you ask them, I would hope they'd say the same thing because I don't work for the developer. The paycheck does not matter who I report to. I have no obligation to anyone other than the village.
Thank you. Okay, last question. The mandated accessibility policy, I can't remember its official name, but is now literally years overdue, which tells me, and I've been a caregiver of a person with significant disabilities for now over 18 years. So this is a topic of considerable concern to me, but it seems to be horribly of no concern to the village, given literally years have gone by and there's yet to be any accessibility policy, which the province actually sent out a requirement for now, I'm sure, like a couple of years ago.
I'm just going to pass that over to Ms. Elric.
Thank you, through the chair, and if Councillor Cryer has anything to add as well. That is being managed and handled by the Community Engagement, Culture and Inclusion Committee. Unfortunately, just as they were undertaking first steps, the individual that was helping through the process unfortunately passed away suddenly, which kind of has put a bit of a kink in the process. It is ongoing and has been mandated to that committee, and I'm not sure whether you have anything further to add.
I'll just add that we are compliant in that we are hiring some consultant. There's a grant that we're receiving or we're working towards. It was a little bit of a hiccup when the gentleman that was helping us passed away. And the fact that we're in the process of hiring someone and working on it means that we are in compliance with it. We're not doing anything against what the province has told us. This is all part of it, and I believe there are many other municipalities that are smaller that are having some difficulties. We've done recruiting, no one stepped up. So now we're looking for other ways through
Good.
a grant.
Good. I'm just gonna
Councillor
be-
Cryer, would you?
I'm just going to be cognizant of time. If we could get some, just let some people else who have a
Okay.
question. And that we have a,
Okay, in compliance with the process, but out of compliance with the specified deadline.
No. Compliance means that you're working towards filling the position of someone on the committee. You're working towards it. It's not something that happens overnight. So as far as the province is concerned, we are compliant in that we are attempting to get it filled.
Okay,
And
thank
now
you.
we are to the point where we're starting a new committee.
good.
It's a new committee term, so.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Any other public questions before we close up and then go into our finance meeting? We've got about 10 minutes left.
So it's Leslie Hannigan, 1065 Thompson Road. My question is, so it looked like that there was, at one point in the last meeting, I think, talk about having the open house near the end of May. Or not the open house, I'm sorry, the public hearing, which after that shuts down the public input about the proposal. My question is, after that, are we going to have an equally maybe long or substantial process to talk about whether we want it at all?
Mr. Savoy?
Through the mayor, so the way the process typically works is once the public hearing happens, there's an opportunity for the entire village to provide comment to council. And once the hearing is closed, that's essentially the end of the conversation for that specific bylaw amendment. So in terms of your question, no, there's not an extensive process regarding the OCP amendment after the close of the public hearing. Where there will be an opportunity, if it proceeds, if council gives it essentially third reading and then it's sent to Metro Vancouver for an adjustment to the urban containment boundary and the land use designation. If Metro approves it, there's another opportunity, just I guess globally across the region, they send out that application to all the municipalities in the region. Then it comes back to this council, but there's no other opportunity for the OCP amendment. So essentially that's the box, that application process is done. If it proceeds, so I should take a step back and say, if that's done, the developer has no rights to develop anything at this point. It's simply setting a vision, setting a land use sort of direction in the OCP that would inform a future rezoning application. At the beginning I talked about a rezoning application. The developer then would submit a rezoning application, and then there's an opportunity for us to talk about very specific adjustments to what the building form, siting, all that stuff. All the specifics will be addressed at that point. Amenity contributions would be solidified, phasing would be solidified. So there's a mountain of work that needs to be done after the OCP, but the OCP is simply setting the land use vision from the community. And the long story is, after the public hearing is closed, council can't receive any more information at that point.
So my only comment then.
In regards to just the OCP?
Just the OCP,
Yeah.
that's right.
Right. So again, I think the question is, we're stuck then with the public hearing being, there is no opportunity to actually say whether we want the OCP to go ahead. Like it's up to Metro Van then, is that correct?
No.
If it goes, if you,
Just through the chair,
Yeah.
there's a community survey online that's going out. There's an open-ended question where you can say whatever you want about the application. There's a community survey going out as part of phase 3, and there's an open-ended question where the community can say what they like about the application. So that's part of this phase 3. I've talked about the community survey that's going online. That's part of phase 3.
so there'll be questions about the actual proposal, and then at the end there'll be a little box for comment where you can say whether or not you actually want the proposal at all, just
Correct.
that little box at the end.
There's a box at the end, open-ended question.
I just want to reiterate, there will be our meeting in May. All these questions can be asked as well. There's no rush with this tonight.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, my name is Rod Rempel from 12 Maple Court. I want to thank council for these open houses that have been had and how open and honest they are. I would like to know, though, with all of the feedback that we get from the Have Your Say Anmore and the surveys that are going to be happening, I'm wondering, are these results going to be made public to us so that we can understand what is actually the result of the information given to our community as we try to make a thoughtful and considerate decision on this development. Respectfully.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so through the chair, thank you. Yes, we will be doing an engagement summary report as well as an appendix, just as we did last time, where we have key themes, but also verbatim comments. On Have Your Say, for the most part, the responses to the questions that are posted with a public response. There have been 3 or 4 where people have specifically said, please respond to me privately. And so those have been done privately, but all the other ones, if they're asked publicly, they're posted right now and anybody can see them.
All right, just one more question. Given the level of concern from our residents about this development and the fact that these open houses are always facilitated by professionals being placemark individuals, I'm just wondering, what can council do to commit that they're going to allow for fostering meaningful engagement with our community to better understand and reflect the community position on this?
Yeah, through the chair. So the open house is focused on the technical studies. So the engagement is primarily the opportunity to ask questions of the experts, the industry experts who prepared them. You can ask questions about it, get clarifications, and we also will be taking notes. When we take those notes, all of those notes also form part of the engagement summary report.
Good. And those will be made public, obviously,
Those
too.
are made public, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Sorry about that. Mayor McEwen, honorable councilors, thank you very much for creating this opportunity.
Name and address, start off.
I was about to say that. My name is Greg Malpass. I'm at 2300 Sunnyside Road in Anmore. I can really appreciate the level of importance of this decision, changing our community so significantly. One of the things that's really coming from the community is the fact that we don't feel as though we've been adequately listened to. And I think the beginning of this council meeting is a great example of that, where we heard a lot of what we've said. We've seen a lot of digestion of information, but it's always been very selective. What we're really wanting is a referendum. And so my question is very specific. Will the council support a referendum as to whether or not the community wants a no-city change?
There will not be a referendum. We only have a few more minutes before we're going to have to shut it down, so. If you're not respectful, we won't be able to continue on. We have about 10 more minutes, and then we have to go into our finance meeting, so
Yeah. No. No, we can't speak. We can be spoken to.
Okay. Are you done?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer over the
I would not
applause.
be in favor of a referendum.
You would not favor?
Yeah.
I would not be in favor, as I mentioned to you on several occasions when we met and when you emailed me. We've been through this.
So it's council's suggestion that the community has a choice of 2,200 units, 3,000 units, or 4,000 units.
No, I haven't made my choice.
Okay. We should, in open transparency, the community is also formed now a neighborhood society, and we have also undergone our own hiring technical consultants, and we are doing our own due diligence on this project, and we'd love the opportunity to share the information, which is representative of our community, to council for consideration. Would you be open to seeing this information and reviewing it?
Again, we have some of the best experts in the world looking at the information and being vetted. So those are the ones that I'm going to be relying on. So,
would you be willing to allow a third party to review your world-class experts?
I believe they're
and
doing
provide
that
opinion on them?
possibly anyway. I would, refer to Mr. Boyd on that.
Sorry, what was the question again, sorry?
would you be open to a third-party review of your consultants and your experts?
I don't believe that's a usual process within this. There's an independent review, which is done with people who are non-biased towards the situation, reviewing the facts for where they're at, and that's how this would typically go down.
So the answer is no. Is the answer no?
I don't have the authority to say yes or no within this. I think we're following a process that is a due process, and we will continue to follow a due process.
Last question is this a democracy? Everyone?
We have about 5 minutes before we have to shut the meeting down, so if I could just keep your questions to be really short. Your name
Hello,
and
my name's Sonny. I'm on Alder Way.
Your
in
name?
Anmore. Sonny. My question is, like, what independent consultant does the village, employ to verify or validate the developer-funded studies?
Go to Mr. Boyd on that one again.
Sure, we hire independent consultants who are engineers, planners, economists, and we review their information that's provided and review it in terms of accuracy and content and provide comment on that.
So do we have access to that report? Or those reports, sorry, not just single?
I believe they're all posted right now. Yeah.
So those are all independently not coming from third party or developer funded?
They're all third party and they've been all vetted through our own consultants.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor McEwen, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
If you can bring
My
your
name is-
microphone down a bit, just, yeah, thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Carrie Young. I am an Anmore resident, 12 Maple Court. I have a question pertaining to growth and strategy. Why is the community being asked only to choose between extreme growth options rather than being involved in shaping a balanced plan?
I think my suggestion would be to hang around for the Finance Committee meeting because discussions are going to be had between the three different proposals. What Council did was they initially took a proposal from the proponent. The proponent, we said it was not anywhere near remotely even interest to it. They came back with three different proposals. We actually proposed a fourth. We're now doing all the technical studies on it, which is where we are right now. That's coming to the Finance Committee meeting because one of the big challenges that we have from a smaller community is it's something that's going to be financially viable long term. We know that 1 acre is not financially viable. We did that study back in 2021. Actually costs each household about $450 a year to supplement a 1 acre subdivision, which again, the property is eligible to be at any moment in time. So we're here now. We're going to be having that discussion tonight at the Finance Committee to see if it financially this makes sense. And then from there, we're going to look at the other studies. And then when it comes to a public hearing, every member of council will be making their own choice. We're all going into this with an open eye.
So the RS1 option with the 1 acre lots, is it absolutely off the table now?
No, not
It's
at all.
not. It's still being considered.
It's what the land is zoned for right now.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. We don't, it's not, a 1 acre subdivision has we have no control over that because it's already been zoned that.
I'm sorry, it's already been,
Zoned that 25 plus years ago.
oh, okay.
Okay,
Council doesn't approve subdivisions.
yeah.
So the subdivision for RS1 is already zoned that way.
Right.
So if the landowner chooses to develop it that way, they can.
Yes, oh, yeah, I understand that, yeah. It just seems that there's, the only options that we're being offered in the open houses and so on are like the 2,200 units, and we don't really talk about the RS1, so that's really why my concern.
Okay. Do you want to speak to it?
Just to explain, the reason why the communication and engagement is focused on the application is because that's the process that this engagement relates to. So the reason why we haven't gone and done engagement on RS1 is because that's a subdivision application, and essentially that's not a decision of council. It gets reviewed by the
see what you're
planner,
saying.
right? So when we started this process, because the property owner submitted an application to council to consider, council agreed to, that they were going to consider this, and that started this process. So that's why that's what this discussion is. But you asked about why the two? Why is it just the two? And so that was what my colleague here was talking about before, is that the village looks at the applications that are submitted to it, and we engage on the applications submitted, and that's all we have before us right now, those two.
Understood. Thank you.
Does that help? Yeah?
Okay, just take the two more speakers quickly, because like I said, we have certain people here waiting for the...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Andy Hoffer, resident at Strong Road for 33 years and a half. I have three quick questions. First one is, in the financial impact report that we just saw, the detailed one, and the comments by Deloitte, I saw no information about the impact on transportation, but I hear it's coming.
There is a transportation report out and been posted. So this is just, the Deloitte is just financial.
Okay, but is the transportation report available?
It's, yeah.
I haven't seen it.
So just, again, Andy, I really strongly suggest stay around for the finance meeting, because the Deloitte report will be very much in a
What about the impact on the school system when you have 8 or 10 times as many elementary school children?
I don't know about the school system. Mr. Savoy?
Through the chair, so as part of the OCP amendment process, the school district is being consulted in terms of the impact that they anticipate.
And who bears the cost if a new school or the school has to be enlarged?
That's the school district.
Okay, and the third question is, with all due respect, why do you think, council members, that your opinion with respect to holding a referendum matters? A referendum is to get everybody's opinion. And this is, if you have been here for 20-some years, we had a referendum on the half-acre, which was very important because the village was very divided then, and we settled that issue. And I think this is a time for a referendum again.
Andy, I would say we didn't settle it, because I was here then, and look at most of the, over half of the properties here are less than half an acre. So, anyway, I'll talk to you offline. Thank you. Thank you.
Say it quickly, please.
Oh, all referendums are non-binding, and the referendum, I was here for that referendum, and it didn't really settle anything, because more than half the properties here are less than an acre as it is right now, or half acre. So
it's not the point. The point is we want to know what people think now about trebling the population and the impact on everybody.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay. Just a quick...
Good evening.
Yeah.
My name is Micheline Berry, and 11 Maple Court in Anmore. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I imagine your project, nice houses, lots of people coming in, and suddenly I see a narrow road in Ayoko, and I cannot believe it will be a misery for me to be on that road with so many people. Please, Council, give us another exit. We cannot go out without Port Moody, so we have to get out of there. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you get started, we're going to have to just extend this for 5 minutes. I'll have to ask council, move that. Second it. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, 2 more speakers, and then we're going to have to go. So please.
Mayor, Council, Will Crocker, 2485 Leggett Drive, Anmore. Hope you can hear me okay. Mayor, I wanted to point out that the official community plan is a municipal bylaw. I believe it's supposed to be reviewed with members of the community every 5 years, and I believe we're well past that. I'd like to point out that although we've had the Acona group make presentations, that's not mayor and council reviewing the OCP with the community. So I would like to see that happen. Also, I think one of the outputs, a few of the outputs from the last OCP was the big push for the community was we wanted actually a coffee shop. I think that was what the community was asking for. We haven't seen that come to light yet, and I do understand that there was a recommendation by council at that time to consider Anmore South, and that was a recommendation by council, not by the community. So I think in a lot of ways we've put the cart before the horse, right? We're spending a lot of the Icona people's time and investment, and I'm not seeing the buy-in from the community. I know they're proposing a lot of neat things, but whether it's development, a hospital, or an airport, I don't see that the community has that the same vision as that. So I'd like to see an OCP review with members of the community. And also, I would like to point out that we have had referendums in Anmore, and of course, the last one that we had was for a community center building, and that was on the ballot, and that was a referendum. That was voted down by the community, and that's why that did not go ahead. And so I think it's a useful tool and useful to have input from the community.
Yeah, just to clarify, referendum was for financing, and that's why it wasn't actually official, an official referendum. You can't do one on land use, only for funding is the official referendum. Second of all, we've had actually 2 updates on the OCP, one for infill, which was an update, as well as for the new Bill 44. So there have been updates to the OCP. OCP costs about $100,000 to review, so we are very cautious about taking on that step. But
and we haven't reviewed with the community as it's supposed to be done every 5 years. And although that was a financial referendum, it was, the question was, does the community want to spend the money on that benefit? So that was the referendum as well. Also, I'd like to see in the OCP meeting with the community, I know you mentioned that we have new provincial guidelines on usage of land, and I think we need to explore that with the community to see what the community wants. I think those are some viable options other than the 3 options you're reviewing with the Finance Committee this evening.
please, yeah, we've got
So,
one more
so
speaker.
can you tell me when we'll be reviewing the OCP with the community as it is a bylaw?
I'm not certain.
You're the mayor, and it's a bylaw,
Yeah.
John. We'd like to know when we're going to
I can't
review
tell
the
you that,
OCP.
so I
So
can't
you're
tell
the
you-
mayor, and you can't tell us when we're reviewing the OCP, even
Right.
though it's a bylaw.
That's the 3rd time I've told you that.
Yeah. So why
Thanks.
is that, John?
Can I get to next speaker, please?
Yeah, I think we'd all like an answer to that question, but maybe, do you want to wait for an answer, or do you want me to ask? He can wait, John. So,
We're going to,
you could just wait, maybe you can give us an answer. But,
Okay, we're going to have to adjourn the meeting then, so could I get a
oh,
movement
we
to
waited,
adjourn?
if you can wait,
Seconded for
the OCP was supposed to be reviewed 5 years ago. You can wait 5 more minutes. So.
Moved, seconded. Yeah.
Neil Lyons, 1024 Ravenswood Drive. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have one technical question for Mr. Tim Savoy, to the chair, if I may. And that question is with regards to the David Avenue right-of-way, which was taken out of being a right-of-way in Port Moody. First of all, am I correct in that?
No, you're correct. The right-of-way has been removed from Berkland Park.
So my question, Mr. Savoy, is in your opinion, what are the chances of that being put back into a right-of-way? Because Mr. Moore is going to need that in order to service.
So I started
traffic
off
to his
my conversation by
community.
saying I've over 30 years experience in municipal government.
Yep.
So you know what I'm going to say. These types of decisions.
I just
essentially-
want the truth, that's all.
The truth is these types of decisions are a council's decision. So eventually, if council wants to put a right-of-way back in Berkland Park, then they'll do it. And if they don't want to do it, they won't do it. It's completely a council decision. So I couldn't give you. If I could start to guess things like that, I'd be doing other things, I suppose, by reading the crystal ball. There's no. I can't estimate if that will ever happen.
So-
But with that said, the traffic impact assessment, of course, looks at transportation impacts relative to not Berkland Park and the current system. So I'd encourage you to look at the TIA.
Well, would you say that the chances of it going in or being reinstated is good or not?
Well, I wish I could give you an answer, but I don't know what that answer
Okay.
would be.
Well, could you tell me this? Does that have to go to referendum in Port Moody in order to be reinstated?
If it's that's a good question, and honestly, I think I'd have to think about that because if it is dedicated park, then it would have to go to referendum.
Okay. we're clear on that. Thank you.
Okay. We've got to we have a bunch of people here. We cannot go past 7. I'm sorry.
It's 6:58. I can be 2 minutes.
Please. Okay.
Thank you for taking the time. My name is Jason Golby of 8 Alder Way. I just wanted to get back to your question, the question of a referendum, because Mr. McEwen, my friend Rod asked about 3 months ago whether you would have a referendum, and he was told that referendums are for financial matters only, and then that was repeated just now. Just for a point of clarity,
yep.
Referendums can be non-binding, and they're generally intended for those matters that are of great public importance to the community. And so they're not simply for, well, I will say that I think that the Icona lands are clearly a financial consideration. In any event, it's not limited to simply financial decisions. And so my question is, with a clear majority of people here asking for a referendum, what is your reason why you're not interested in a non-binding referendum to get a good sense of the sentiment of the public?
The amount of support I've received in favor. So, there truly is a considerable amount of people that are in favor of this project that I'm trying to weigh through. So
I think a referendum would be helpful.
Sorry, there are quite a few people that are in favor of this project.
I would love to hear that,
Yeah.
and I think through a referendum.
Anyway.
If a referendum would.
Sorry, we are going to have to, we can't continue on here. I'm sorry. We've got a meeting to go to at 7, so.
Thank you for your time.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Ken Uvick, 120 Lansing Crescent. I appreciate Ms. Mickelson's perceived extensive description of the public engagement. And my comment may seem a little small, but it means something to me. I just came away from cataract surgery, so I went into the village hall the other day and I asked for copies of the report that I learned had become available. And it was indicated to me that these weren't available through the village hall, and if I wanted them, they would be perhaps 25 cents a copy, and there was hundreds of pages and so on. Karen did kindly suggest that she would make one copy of the reports and make them available for read only in the office, which really didn't suit me and perhaps other people to spend hours there going over these reports. And then I just sort of off the cuff asked the question whether or not when Icona is having open houses and coming to our village hub and putting on their events, do they pay for that? And it was indicated to me that they pay nothing to do that, and yet when I wanted to get those reports, I can't have those made available to me. Just a suggestion, if we've got such a great engagement process, you should make those reports available. And I'm sure I'm probably the only one that came in and asked for paper copies. Thank you.
Okay. On that, no, we're sorry. We're going to be motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded. All those discussion. We're adjourned. Sorry. Thank you, everyone, for coming out.